Hey there, my wedding planning friends, and welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for clicking on my video. I'm Emily Summer. I'm a wedding planner based in Montana, and I make weekly videos on wedding planning tips and advice. So it's been a little while since I've done a video like this one, so I thought it was time for another one. And today we are going to talk about the biggest pieces of advice that couples have either received or that they have to give after getting married and going through the wedding planning process themselves, and also the biggest regrets these couples have as well. So there's so much wedding planning advice and tips and content on the internet, and some of the best advice and tips that you're going to get or see are from couples that have been in the exact same position that you are in. So I wanted to ask a bunch of people that have previously been through the wedding planning process, recently engaged and married couples, what their biggest or best pieces of advice were, as well as things that they regret the most about their wedding. Surprisingly, maybe not surprisingly, the regrets list is a little bit longer than the advice list, so I'm going to start with that one. Number one, a regret that I heard expressed a couple of times was staying up too late the night before the wedding. So usually you'll have like a rehearsal dinner or a welcome party the night before. This is the first time you're probably seeing all of your friends and family that are coming into town for your wedding to celebrate your wedding day, and it can be easily escalated, and it can be difficult to want to shut down a little bit early and say goodnight a little early and just not get so caught up in the excitement surrounding this whole weekend, which can then lead to late nights and not early bedtimes, where your wedding day is a long day. You want to make sure that you have all the energy possible, as well as getting good rest for, your physical appearance as well. Your wedding day is not the day to be looking tired, feeling tired. So if you have any control over the matter, try and get a decent night's sleep the night before your wedding, and don't spend all night partying with your friends. That's what your wedding day is for. Number two, inviting too many people. I heard this time and time again. And this isn't meaning like that you should have a very small wedding, and that's the only thing that couples don't regret. But inviting so many people because you feel like you need to is not only going to be so much more expensive, but it's also going to play a role in the enjoyment of your wedding day. If you're meeting a ton of people for the first time on your wedding day, that can feel a little bit awkward and a little weird and not as intimate as you want it to be on your wedding day, as it should be a celebration with people that are closest to you. Number three, spending thousands of dollars on designer shoes. This is kind of controversial, maybe not controversial, but I could see it going both ways. So a lot of brides will choose to have a really nice bridal shoe. Most of the time, these shoes are used for your detail photos or for photos in general, much more than they're actually being worn. So I understand if you're wanting to have that nice touch of having a nice shoe, a designer shoe, if that's kind of in your nature. But just because you're seeing other people do that, don't feel like you need to have some expensive designer shoe because that's what you're supposed to do as a bride. In reality, the shoes that you are wearing or the shoes that are in your photos are likely not going to be the shoes that you're even wearing on your wedding day or wearing for very long. Maybe just during your ceremony or maybe just during photos. You're typically going to want to have a shoe that's somewhat more comfortable and something that you're going to feel good wearing for hours on end, especially if you're having a wedding dress that you won't really see your shoes in. So don't spend thousands of dollars on a designer shoe if that's not something that's in your nature, in your personality to do so. Number four, going on a honeymoon immediately after the wedding. I have heard this from several couples as well. Going directly into a honeymoon, leaving on a flight the day after your wedding is exhausting, even just hearing that. And you should, if you can, spend the entire day after your wedding just to kind of decompress. This has been likely an entire year of your life of planning and very high emotions. It can be very draining emotionally, very draining physically on your wedding day. So you're likely going to feel so exhausted the day after that it's nice to be able to just kind of recoup, kind of recollect yourself, get things from your venue if you need to, go through your gifts and your cards, and just have a day to kind of decompress and relax before hopping on a flight to your honeymoon. Number five, having to clean up the day after the wedding. So in theory, it probably sounds really nice to have the full day after your wedding to clean up, and honestly, it is nice to have some time of the next day as an option to clean up or to finish cleanup. But if you're having to do full cleanup the day after your wedding, this can be so brutal, not only on yourselves, but also on friends and family that you're likely going to enlist to help you. So if you do have a venue for an entire weekend, that's great to have the next day to be able to finish cleanup, to pack up your belongings and that sort of thing. But try not to leave everything to the day after, or it's going to be very painful. Next, not proofreading stationery. Big yikes here. If you are having any printed menus, programs, anything that's printed, make sure you're proofreading that. Next, not doing a hair or makeup trial. This is a big one. I've had a few couples express this. If you're out of state and so you're getting your hair and makeup done for a destination wedding, this can be difficult to do a trial. Even if you're doing your trial the day before your wedding, like for your rehearsal dinner, I still recommend doing a hair and makeup trial, or at least one of the two. That way you know exactly what you're getting on your wedding day and you're not just kind of taking the risk with somebody that you've never worked with before, or a makeup look that you've never done before, and you can see if there's going to be any tweaks that you want to make on the wedding day. Next, this should come as no surprise, not hiring a day of coordinator. So I've heard this time and time again, or couples that are hiring me saying that they are never thought to have a day of coordinator, but are reaching out because their friends just got married and said that's the one thing that they regret. And I hear this a lot, and that's mostly just because most couples don't really realize what large a role a day of coordinator has on your wedding day until you're trying to do it yourself, because that is the difference between you being able to just simply enjoy and be in the moment in your wedding day and being separated from your partner or from your bridesmaids or from your family, whoever you're getting ready with, to go answer questions with vendors or go point out things, or having to get there extra early to set up your tables and then get ready. And it's just such a rush of a day and having to be pulled in so many different directions that alone is the main reason couples regret not having somebody there to kind of handle all the back end things so that you can just enjoy and be present in your wedding day. Next is not having food for getting ready, or not enough food for getting ready. I can't stress this enough. Please, please bring yourself lunch, snacks, breakfast, coffee, whatever you need. Make sure that you are planning for food leading up to your wedding ceremony. It's a long day. You're likely going to be getting to your venue fairly early in the morning. You're going to need something to sustain yourself, as well as the people that are going to be getting ready with you. Number 10 is not having a videographer. Obviously, this is a personal choice, so wherever that lands for you personally in your budget and your priorities. But this is just something that I hear a lot from couples, is that if they could do something differently, they would have splurged or spent a little bit more money on the, having a videographer and maybe cut back somewhere else, because photos are great and obviously those are going to outlast everything, but there's something so different about getting video footage of your wedding day that helps you to relive it a little bit better than a photograph can. And finally, not having a change of shoes or dress. I kind of mentioned this earlier, but always at least have a pair of shoes to change into so that you are comfortable, whether this is to change into immediately after your ceremony or a pair of sneakers you're going to throw on for dancing, whatever that might be. Have some change of shoes for some point in the night. And maybe even have a change of dress. This is obviously not required. It's very popular right now to have a second look just for the sake of having a second look. But this originated and this really started so that brides that are having really cumbersome or heavy or large gowns that are difficult to dance in, that you can change into something that you can actually dance and move around and feel good in and be able to just enjoy and be comfortable for the rest of your night. So if you're having a dress that's really hard to dance in, maybe consider having a second look. All right, now that we got the regrets out of the way, let's get into some of the pieces of advice from recently married couples. So this is either advice that they received when planning a wedding or advice that they have after planning their wedding for currently engaged couples. Number 1, do what makes you happy. There are no rules. This becomes more and more relevant as the years go on. There really are no rules unless you're getting married in a church and having a very traditional wedding. You can do whatever you want on your wedding day. You can choose to include whoever you want in your wedding day, as far as a wedding party, no wedding party, having your parents walk you down the aisle, whatever you want to do, it should be true to who you are as a person as well as who you are as a couple. Number 2, don't book your DJ last minute. This goes for really any vendor, but it seems that DJs tend to be the ones that are booked kind of last, or an afterthought, or thinking that they're not that important and so you're going to do it yourself and then realizing, oh, we actually might need somebody that's going to run the show. DJs actually book up very quickly, so don't wait too long to book your DJ. or any vendor really. There should be no vendors that are being booked within 6 months of your wedding day. Number 3, no one will remember your centerpieces. They'll remember how fun and special your wedding was. This is a good reminder. Obviously, if decor and your photos and those details are important to you, there's nothing wrong with spending time and money on your centerpieces and your flowers and wanting to make it look nice. Nothing wrong at all. But if you're somebody that is stressing about it, if you're trying to choose centerpieces and wedding decor that's going to impress your guests, or that you want it to look a certain way because of how you want your guests to perceive it, that's where there can be a little bit of an issue, and you want to make sure that you're making decisions because they're what you want and not that you're trying to impress other people, because the fact of the matter is they might be wowed upon arriving, but they're not going to remember those details about your wedding. They're going to remember how good the food was, they're going to remember how beautiful you looked, they're going to remember how much fun they had, and they're going to remember the dance floor and the music being a great time. They're not going to remember what their escort card looked like or what your centerpieces look like. Number 4, schedule some kind of alone time. Yes. So whether this is right before walking down the aisle and you guys have already done a first look and you're going to just take a moment, just the two of you, to sit while everyone else is going and getting ready for the processional, having a moment alone is very few and far between on your wedding day, which seems funny because your wedding day is about your unity together and you don't spend a whole lot of time together on your wedding day. So this is one of the main reasons why I love first look so much, not only for the efficiency that it provides for your overall timeline and for photos, but just to be able to have that moment together. It's usually just the two of you and your photographer, of course, but you're able to have this moment, just the two of you, and be able to really soak in the day and kind of spend this alone time together before the craziness of your wedding ceremony and reception takes place. Another point that I've seen this done is sunset photos are another great opportunity for this. Not only are they great for getting great pictures, but it's another opportunity to just sneak away and be the two of you with your photographer. I've also had a couple of couples that have chosen to eat dinner by themselves or like go into a separate room and eat privately. This is another great opportunity if you are not doing a first look or not planning on doing sunset photos, to have just the two of you together, so that same thing, you're able to kind of talk and soak in the day and be able to decompress and have some alone time, because that's probably the only opportunity you'll get. Number 5, plan your thank yous before your wedding. So I like this one. I hadn't really considered this or heard of this before, but planning, like getting all of your thank yous done and having addressed labels already and having like that kind of stuff done before your wedding day, I could see such a benefit in that. You're already in the wedding planning mode. You're already used to like addressing envelopes for your wedding invitations, you're saving the dates or whatever, and having those ready to go and then just being able to like write in them, sign them, and send them out after your wedding is so efficient and so nice. I feel like that would be so nice to know that after your wedding, all of this work is done, not only for your wedding day, but now this extra little piece that kind of lingers after your wedding day. Most of it's done. You just have to like write a little note, sign it, and get it in the mail. Next, release the pressure surrounding wedding party decisions. I love this one. I think it's just so traditional to have a wedding party, have bridesmaids, have groomsmen. And if that's what you want to do, that's great. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But I've also seen a big shift in couples choosing to just have one on either side or to completely forego the wedding party. I have heard from clients as well as friends of mine difficulty that they have had in not only choosing their wedding party, but then like drama that has come up from the dynamics within the wedding party or stress that they're putting on the bride, and just things that are really unnecessary when you're planning a wedding. And if it's easier for you to just say, hey, not gonna do it, I don't wanna have any wedding party, or just have one person as like your maid of honor, your one attendant, and one person on the other side, so be it. I don't think that there should be any pressure or obligation involved in choosing who should be in your wedding. And finally, if you splurge on one thing, make it your photographer. So kind of similar to couples regretting not having a videographer, I have heard couples regret hiring a photographer that they were really trying to save money, and essentially you get what you pay for with this sort of a thing. And like I said, your photographer, your photos from your wedding is the one thing that's really going to outlast your wedding day when it comes to what you're going to remember and what you're going to take away from years down the road. Your wedding photos are the only thing that's really you're going to have to look back on for that. So Don't scrimp on a wedding photographer if you're wanting to be able to look back on really nice photos or have photos printed in your house. It might cost a little bit more to have a really great photographer, but in my opinion, it's well worth the money. So there are some regrets as well as advice from recently married couples that will hopefully help you along your wedding planning journey. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe to get weekly videos on wedding planning tips and advice, and we'll see you next week.